This morning we're going to talk to an actor, writer, and recently turned director, whose first short film won a BAFTA earlier this year for Best British Short Film. Don't you just hate it? Would you please welcome Mr. Paddy Considine. Finally.
I don't know what all that was about. Sorry about that. I don't nip off halfway through it.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah.
You behaved yourself last night.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Congratulations on the BAFTA. It's an incredibly strong, competent film.
Thank you.
And we're going to look at it later on in the interview. In about 5 minutes. You cited in your acceptance speech, thanking Gary Oldman, who you worked with.
Yeah.
As giving you the confidence to go and do that. Was he an actor who influenced you a lot?
Yeah, definitely. Massively, Gary. I think the first time I saw Gary Oldman was in the film. And I love Alan Clark films anyway, you know, when I was kind of a kid. Those films like The Firm and Scum, Made in Britain with The Talk of the Playground, you know, because you had great films on television.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I saw Gary, and then through the years, obviously watched his career and watching him brilliant in a lot of things, like Meantime. And then the thing that really blew me away was his directorial debut, you know, Nil by Mouth, which was just stunning. I remember seeing that, and at the time I was a photography student in Brighton, and I remember being in the cinema when and you could just hear a pin drop, and I thought it was fantastic. I didn't understand about acting then or anything like that, but so it was an amazing thing. And my relationship with Gary was, I was doing a film in Spain, and it was one of them, it was the first time I'd ever sort of looked at a film and I read a script and gone, this ain't very good. You know? And then you looked at the page, you know, they offered you some money, and I remember ringing him again. I'm not talking millions or anything, but I remember ringing him back going, are they serious? Is that what they want to pay me? Like, you know? There's a difference between living in a flat and a house, you know, put it out. And he was like, yeah, I said, must be fucking mad, we'll check it out. And I did it for money, you know.
Yeah.
And then it was like, Gary Oldman's doing it, and it was like, okay, Gary Oldman's doing it. I'm going to do it then, you know. But, you know, to be fair, I mean, he was a really talented young director, and I think he's going to go on to make some really good movies, the guy that directed. It was a film called The Backwoods. But I went out there sort of knowing that I wasn't right for the role, and also that I just so many limitations. I realised that I wasn't particularly great at delivering dialogue that felt unnatural to me, because some actors can do that really well. You can get brilliant actors in not very good films, but they're still good in them, you know. And I realised that I ain't got that capability, you know, to do that. I don't know what they've got, but I ain't got it, you know. And so I found myself in a bad situation. Gary was a really good bloke, you know, and I think Gary's sort of reputation preceded him, and that people felt that, you know, he just did films for money and his spirit wasn't in acting anymore. And when I got there, it was quite the opposite. You know, we were on a sort of sinking ship, and he was doing everything he could to make it a better experience, and, you know, saying to the director, you know, come on, let the actors work through this, you know, let's get a scene going, let us feel it first, because we'd walk to set and there'd be marks put out on the floor before you even rehearse, and it's like you walk there and stand there, then you pick up that cup and walk there, and you're going...
Which is 99% of most films.
Yeah, well, it certainly was in that
Yeah.
case, and I just felt more of a robot, you know. But he helped me a lot on it, but it was at the time I was quite in a, you know, I get up and down and that, I was in a quite depressed place. And I just thought, oh, you know what, I can't do this anymore for a job. And I thought, I've got to do something else, because I can't see how I'm going to go back to photography and hawk around my portfolio and think, you know, I've got a head start. And what I really wanted to do years ago was direct, and just before I made Romeo Brass, I was with Shane. Hello. That's the film. Look at that hairdo. Nothing else to see. I'm having a great time there. Good crew, man. But yeah, I suppose that I was in the back, and I just sat in my hotel and wrote the short film Dog all together. I mean, it's only a 12-page thing, you know, and I wrote it in a couple of hours, and it was always ticking over in my mind, and I wrote it, and I remember like printing it out. I said to Gary, I've written a short film. I said, would you mind having a look at it, reading it, not to give him a part, just say, would you let me know what you think of it, you know? And he came back the next day and was like, it's just fucking one of the best things I've ever read, you know? I was like, what? You know, I don't think it's one of the best, you know, but I was just like that, but he got it.
Yeah.
He got it, you know, and I described the
And it is very influenced by, when we look at it,
Nil by mouth, yeah, definitely. But I sort of explained some of the scenes to him and what was behind them, and there was one scene in particular, and unfortunately, it didn't work in the film. When you see it all together, I can talk about it after if you remind me. There was a scene that I wrote down on paper, and I tried to shoot it, and I didn't get it. I couldn't get the right performance from the actor, and I just couldn't get it. And I tried to put it in there, and it didn't work. But he got it when I read it to him, and told him about it, and he got a little bit choked by it. And he says, and the first thing he said to me, he goes, I want to produce this. And I went, oh, wow, you know. I said, right, he says, deal, and it was deal. But unfortunately, you know, Gary lives in LA, and I live in Burton. So, you know, it was difficult. And actually, when I got it made, he was one of the first people that I sent it to, you know. And he loved it, and he actually said to me, he says, the only reason I'm not a producer on this film is because there's a massive ocean between us.
Yes.
You know, and he was just inspiring to me in that way, like, make it, who are you going to cast?
Right.
I said, I want Peter Mullen. Yeah, good choice, yeah, you should. And it was just, that's how it came together, and I found him a brilliant bloke, family man, you know, makes these big movies, but he's a writer, you know, raising his kids, and he's done it, Gary, you know, he's done it all, so I love him a lot, great guy.
Your first role was in Romeo Brass.
Yeah.
With your old friend Shane Meadows. Where did you meet Shane?
Me old mucker. Me fucking Batman and Robin. Jesus, man. Me and Shane met when we were 17 because when I was at school I wanted to be an actor, you know, I did Grease and all that, you know. All that good stuff.
Not Hamlet, Grease.
Yeah. And, you know, so I come from a small enough town, but in a little area of the town, Windsor, where I live. We had an old school, and they turned it into the local arts college, so I could walk there in 20 minutes. And it only lasted a year there before it moved on, but I went there when I was 17, just turning 18. And I remember that's where I met Shane, and I remember, like, he looked about 30, at the time, you know, he's 17, he looked about 35. You know, he had a beard and fucking tucked the hair in, and he had like some wanky jumper on, and he had a massive black eye, as I remember. I remember looking at him, and he was like in the canteen, and the guy who was head of the course was, you know, talking to his kids, and he was, all I could hear was Shane at the corner of, you know, I see him and hear him, and he was saying to the guy, he goes, John, how much do fucking weathermen get paid? And John was like, Shane, you know, you won't be a weatherman. You know, anything, you know. What can I do? What can I do? I'll read the fucking weather, you know. But he stood out, you know, straight away, you know.